Take a deep breath, take the higher road. That's what they always say, as if they know the way. They won't take it from me. But don't ever doubt yourself, 'cause life ain't just a dream. You made your own, so kick and scream. The people will act with a never-ending force. You never had the chance, so what you waiting for? The day has come, my friend, 'cause this is war. It's time and this is war.
The tension between Israel and Iran has long simmered beneath the surface of Middle Eastern geopolitics. A complex, volatile dance of ideology, regional power struggles, and global interests. But in recent weeks, that tension has boiled over. What began as a series of targeted strikes and retaliatory threats has now escalated into direct military engagement, dragging the United States further into a conflict that could engulf the region and potentially the world. Israel, facing existential threats and ongoing attacks from Iran-backed forces, has responded with increasingly bold military operations. Iran, in turn, sees Israeli aggression and its close alliance with the U.S. as a provocation, threatening its regional influence and security. Now, with American forces mobilizing in support of Israel, the conflict has taken on a new and potentially dangerous dimension. The stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about two countries locked in ideological opposition. It's about nuclear capabilities, proxy wars, oil routes, religious extremism, and the very balance of global power. For the United States, stepping in signals a commitment to its longstanding ally, but it also risks dragging us into another costly, open-ended military conflict. At a time when our own nation is facing division, economic uncertainty, and a shifting global order, the question we must ask is, what is America's role in this conflict, and are we prepared for the consequences? You're listening to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. Before we get started today, I do want to encourage our listeners, if you have questions or comments, or perhaps you want to share your own experiences with what you're seeing on the front lines of healthcare, you can now submit those to us directly by visiting our website at nursesoutloud.com. We would love to hear from you. We encourage all of you to engage in the battle and find your voice in this fight. But until you are able to do that, we will continue to be that voice for you. My guest today has spent his life helping others craft their message, shape their story, and speak truth with boldness. Kevin Tuttle is the founder and CEO of Spirit PR, a values-based public relations firm committed to amplifying the voices of truth tellers, freedom fighters, and faith-driven organizations. But right now, Kevin isn't just managing media campaigns or advising clients. He's living with his wife and children in the middle of a war zone. Kevin and his family reside in Israel, and as tensions between Israel and Iran escalate and as global forces continue to align and collide, he's witnessing firsthand the realities of war, faith under pressure, and what it truly means to walk in purpose during perilous times. This conversation goes beyond headlines and politics. It's about courage, conviction, and the calling to stand for what is right, even when it costs you everything. Kevin, thanks so much for coming back and joining me today.
Thank you, Nurse Kimberly. It's good to be back.
Thank you, Public Relations Kevin. I'm sure my listeners will remember Kevin has been on several times, and we've actually spoken about conflict in Israel. I think our last episode, which is, what was that, about a year ago?
Yeah, I believe so.
Maybe a little bit more. But let me ask you, Kevin, just first off, how are you and your family doing right now? What is daily life like for you in this current climate?
So a lot has slowed down. Most places are closed. The kids were going to school and they had one more week of school left when the war started. At least the war with Iran here. We've been at war basically for 2 years since I've lived here, after October 7th. But, since the Iran conflict started, school was canceled. So like the end of year ceremonies and all of that was canceled. It's been, most of the restaurants, you can't sit in the restaurants, you can get things to go. So beaches are closed, all that kind of stuff. So but it's not bad. I mean,
you feel safe.
you hear these types of things like, oh my God, the stores are closed. It's really not that big of a deal with those types of things. And, the biggest deal is getting missiles sent to us. The constant barrage of missiles that are coming that have, fortunately, the frequency of which have dramatically slowed down as this war has progressed. But today we've had 2 sirens go off, and what that entails is most places, at least where I live, nearly everybody has their own bomb shelter in their home. So when the sirens go off, first you get a notification on your phone, actually. It's called Home Front Command, and it overrides anything on your phones. It says, we expect soon there to be an attack coming. Seek out shelter, get near a shelter, and it gives you like a 10-minute warning. So when Israeli intelligence is seeing things moving in Iran, they're seeing the launchers get ready, and they try to attack those before it happens. But when these missiles get launched, it usually takes about 10 minutes to get here. So they tell us, go find a shelter, be near one, and then you get another notification on your phone to get in the shelter. At the same time, the sirens outside go off. And then you go in your shelter and shut the door and you wait until you get the all clear, which usually takes about 10 minutes. And then life resumes. It's kind of surreal. Yesterday, when this happened, we were outside and, there's a lot of people working and that sort of thing. There's construction site here and stuff. And everybody disappears for 10 minutes and then it's right back to work. Everybody's like just resuming life. And it's, I guess you have to be a little mentally tough to handle it. But overall, it's not quite as scary as you might think it is.
What is the frequency of these alarms going off?
Like I said, it's slowed down. So today we've only had 2 so far, about the same yesterday. And then some days it ranges between, 4 to 6. So it all depends, and it depends where you are in the country too. I'm north of Tel Aviv, so that area, and Haifa, I'm south of Haifa. Those 2 areas get hit more frequently. So their alarms don't impact us here. So I'm kind of in between those areas. So, for me, my experience is different than the people that live in Tel Aviv, where they've actually taken direct hits in that area. Same with Haifa. So it's not so bad where I live.
Well, I am increasingly and since you've left for Israel, have been just nervous, for your safety, for your family's safety, while you've been there. And I know that you have plans to come back to the U.S. And unfortunately, those have kind of been thwarted with all of this conflict that's going on. So at this point, you're just kind of waiting for the all clear to get out when flights resume.
Yeah, interestingly enough, our flight was supposed to be today. We booked our tickets about 4 months ago, I think, something like that. And today we were supposed to fly out to New York, and that's been delayed, and I don't know when we're going to be able to leave. But the one thing I want to make clear, we are not leaving because of the war. There are various circumstances that is causing us to leave, and none of it had to do with our fear of living here or the conditions in Israel or any of that. We love this country. We don't want to leave, for any perceived notion that we're running away from this area. That's certainly not the case. But extenuating circumstances is causing us to head back to the States now, and we look forward to the next chapter. So I know you've been you've been saying stuff for a couple of years. Hey, you ready to come back? You ready to come back?
Yeah, and and I've
So
said it before. I'm very happy. I know that you are at such peace there, and you and your family love it there, and I'm happy for you. But yeah, for selfish reasons, we would love you back in the United States where we feel like you're a little bit safer. But for those that are listening who might not be following the full scope of the conflict, can you help us to understand, in your estimation, what sparked this most recent escalation between Israel and Iran?
well, I mean, you have to listen to the Iranians themselves, to the Ayatollah and the things that he says. And those things are that, you know, death to America, death to Israel. And, thanks to President Obama's Iran deal and the money that he funded to Iran, Iran has been, on a fast pace to develop nuclear weapons. And they openly admitted that they want to destroy Israel, which is the little Satan in their view, and America is the big Satan. And they were very, very close to enriching the uranium to the point where they could develop a bomb. So you could be guaranteed that when Iran has a bomb, they will use it on Israel. That's their motivation. It's a holy war to them. I guess in Islam, they never want to lose any land that they once had. And, they used to be all over Israel, Islam was, and that's no longer the case. And I think it's a thorn in their side that the Jewish people have their own homeland, and therefore they want to wipe it off the map. And when you look at this map of this regional area, and you see this tiny country the size of New Jersey amongst a sea of Islamic countries, none of them who respect women, none of them who give equal rights to homosexuals or anyone else. That's only in Israel where these things happen, where there are Muslims in parliament, there are women have equal rights, homosexuals have equal rights, anything. It's just like America in that sense here. This is not an apartheid state, as we've been hearing so many times out there. This is not, I go to the grocery store, I go to many stores around town, and there's always a Muslim person in that store. They have jobs, they are friendly to you. Most of us get along just fine. It is not an apartheid state. It's definitely a different situation when you have a country who says they want to kill you, they want to wipe you off the map. And what are you supposed to do as a country when you know that that country is about to develop a nuclear weapon that they want to shoot at you? So Israel did what any rational country that it was trying to protect itself would do, and that is preemptively strike them before they can be struck. And if you notice what's happening, when Israel strikes Iran, they go after government facilities, they go after the missiles, the warehouses, the ammunition places. That's what Israel is targeting and bombing. They are not motivated to harm the Iranian civilians. They don't want to do that. They want to free the civilians from the awful regime of Khomeini, who's been there for 50 years, just have a complete oppressive, maniacal mindsets of Sharia law.
Yeah.
No rights for women. You get caught with your hair covering. That's not, your hair covering is not right. You're not wearing it correctly in Iran, and they'll put you in jail. I mean, they'll beat women in the streets. It's an awful, oppressive place. The Iranian people don't deserve that. They've always been supportive of Israel, actually, a long history of that type of support and that friendship, even though we don't share a border. So we have no interest in harming the Iranian civilians, but we do want to take out their military infrastructure and their missiles. And I want to put a caveat in all of this. I am not involved with the Israeli military. I am not an expert. I just live here. and I follow the news, and I see things, and I just want people to understand that.
Yes, absolutely. Kevin, public relations Kevin is not
Yes.
an Israeli official, but he is living, through these times and really wanted his perspective. But yes, he is just a resident of Israel and in no way involved in the government there. So not an official word. But Kevin, you are a man
Yes.
of a deep faith. That's something that we both hold dear, and we really have connected on that. But how has your faith anchored you during these trying times?
I am looking at this as prophecy coming true. Um, when you look at the Tanakh, which Christians would call the Old Testament, I don't like that term. It makes it seem like it's no longer relevant, and just the opposite is true. So I still call it the Tanakh. There's great prophets in there. There, Ezekiel, this whole thing, if you know the Bible and you know Ezekiel chapter 37, 38, 39, this is, it was prophesied. I think that was about 2,500 years ago, that there would be a war, that, with Persia. Persia is Iran. And at the time when this was prophesied, Persia was really nothing. Like, it wasn't a superpower. It was, there were the Assyrian Empire, there was the Roman Empire. Those were the superpowers that emerged eventually, but Persia wasn't one. So to think of it as, the prophet had that notion to say that Persia would be at war against Israel, it was just outlandish. Like, how could you say something that doesn't make sense? Persia is nothing. And 2,500 years later, here we are. Here we are, the great Persia, the great Iran, who wants to wipe us off the face of the map. And to see, exactly what's happening, I feel like we have a front row seat to prophecy, and it's fascinating to me. And I think that's why none of this scares me, because I know what happens. I have the script here in front of me, so
Exactly.
it's
The
pretty
ending
great.
has been written. And, and I've heard some people comparing and saying that we are witnessing for the setup for Ezekiel 38. Others have dismissed this as just fear mongering. So you are of the position where you feel like this is prophecy coming to pass with Ezekiel 38. And, really, I feel like it does stand as a beacon of hope in a way, just illuminating God's dedication to his chosen ones.
Yes, I feel the same way. We've been given prophecy for a reason, and no time in history has it ever been this evident that you can see what was written in those chapters in Ezekiel. This hasn't happened before. So, is it for sure the Gog and Magog example? Can't say for sure, but it sure seems like it. A lot of it seems to be jumping out off the pages when you read it. So I think it's fascinating. One of the things that I've really, really enjoyed during my time here in Israel is the study that I do, the Torah study I do with a couple rabbis that I know, and I've learned so much. It's so amazing. And we went to places like Shiloh, which is where the first tabernacle, when Joshua brought the people into the land of Israel after Moses passed away. In Shiloh is where it's in the center of the country, and they placed the tabernacle there. So they found that spot. It wasn't discovered until like the 1960s, 70s did they understand that this is the spot, this is actual Shiloh, and they found, archaeological evidence of that. It's an actual fact, like an undisputable fact that Shiloh is today where it sat when Joshua first brought the people over. And it is absolutely thrilling to be in that area, to look at these vineyards, and then to read the Tanakh where it says, once again, I'll bring my people back to this land, and the vineyards will be grown once again on the hillside. and you see that hillside where the vineyards currently are and the wine that's produced there. I mean, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating to see all this stuff in real time in person.
And I think that many in the United States, they only see this through a political lens. I think the conflict goes far deeper than that, as what you're describing. And, what would you say to Christians in America who feel conflicted, they feel confused, or really even indifferent to what's going on?
I would encourage them to read Ezekiel, read the Tanakh. If you profess to be a Christian and you say that you believe in the Bible, then read it. See what it says. It doesn't make sense to me how somebody can say, yeah, I believe in all these things, but I'm completely against war. Ecclesiastes says there's a time for love, there's a time for peace, there's a time for war. So do you believe in that or not? Or you just want to say, oh, I'm all about peace and love. It doesn't work that way. There is a time for war. You have to defend yourselves. Any of you would defend yourselves in America if Mexico or Canada kept bombing, kept attacking, and were developing nuclear weapons to shoot at America. You'd want to defend yourself in that sense too. So what Israel is doing is not out of the norm. It's completely rational. And I guess I'd encourage Christians who are confused or whatever to read the Tanakh. See what it says. See what it says about repentance in Ezekiel 18. See what it says about this war, Gog and Magog. Read it. It's all there.
I agree with you. Just biblical literacy. Start reading the Bible, start reading the word and see what it says. Because I think, like you said, many people profess their faith, but they don't actually follow through, and their actions certainly don't reflect what they say that their beliefs are. They're just not in alignment. But
this war is definitely a religious war. One of the sayings that I've heard for a long time is, first they come for the Saturday people and then they come for the Sunday people, which means that Islam doesn't care what you believe in. If you don't believe in their religion, they're going to come after you. And if you look at what's happening in Europe, it's pretty scary. Norway is basically a Muslim country. You have Belgium that's been overrun now. You have England that's being overrun, France, all of these places, and they're so scared. The locals, the original populace, they're scared of the term Islamophobia. We just want to be so accepting of them, and they're so accepting to the point of their own demise. And that is going to occur in America too if we keep allowing this totalitarian mindset, this Islamic rule of the world. If we keep allowing that to continue, it's not a peaceful religion. They don't have your best interests in mind. And, if you don't want to believe as they tell you, if you don't convert to their religion, they have no problem executing you. That's what Sharia law is. That's what Iran is. And if you look at how many Christians and Jews remain in Islamic countries, there's very, very few. Very few. We're talking handfuls of people where there used to be millions. And even in places like Syria, it's so drastically diminished. Syria and Lebanon used to have a lot of Christians there, and they're not, and certainly no Jews. So, this notion that Islam is a religion of peace is complete garbage.
And
that's not in their charter.
With Christians who will go over on mission trips, right? To try to, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish there, but we see it all the time where they are being captured and many times executed.
Yeah, it's happening right now in, I think, Somalia and various African countries. There's Christians being attacked all the time, but it's not talked about. And there's no protest march in America about it. There's no, free Christian Somalians. There's no, banners or anything. It's only free Palestine. It's only, and all of that comes from the money that both Qatar and Iran have in infiltrating the U.S. education system, which is why you see these protests happening at institutes of higher education they've been infiltrated. The professors are on the side of the Qataris, of the Iranians, of Islam, and it's sad to see the anti-Semitism that is just rampant now, and in the medical freedom community especially. It's really frightening to see, all these people who stood for what was right and good and liberty and all of that can't see that Israel is just trying to stand for that themselves, to still try to exist. That's all we're trying to do here, is exist. And we're just condemned for it all the time. The UN hates Israel. It has a very, very poor track record with Israel overall. It's an anti-Semitic institution. When you have an organization like UNRWA in Gaza that was basically employing people to be terrorists, it's an organization of the UN itself, where any Palestinian person, no matter where they are in the world, is always a refugee, even their children. So if a Palestinian moves to America and has children and grandchildren, all of them count as refugees. It doesn't make any sense. There's no other people like that in the world, that if they're establishing their own family line in a different country, that they're still considered refugees of somewhere. Only the Palestinian people. It's a very politically biased system, and yeah, I'm thrilled to see that what's happening with Israel protecting itself. And we had peaceful people at a party, basically a peace party, a music festival, that were overrun and slaughtered by Palestinians. So and a lot of these people were down in the kibbutzim, near the border there with Gaza, and they had employed a lot of these people, a lot of these Palestinians, because they had the mindset that, if we're just kind to them and we show them love and we show them respect, that they won't do anything to us. And it burned them, literally. It burned them. They were burned alive. Their homes were destroyed because these people just got intel on them for years, gave it to Hamas, and then on October 7th, we saw what happened. So it's sad to see this whole, that we still have hostages there after 600 some days now, 650 some, I think. It's awful. It's awful. And the thing is,
about it, right? We don't hear about it, but your work with Spirit PR, right? That puts you right at the center of the battle for truth in media. But the global media narrative is really different from the reality on the ground. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but I have to be honest that I don't watch the U.S. news, so I don't know what's being said there, which is, for the last 2 years, has been a huge joy of my life to not hear this stuff anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's being said overall. For the most part, I mean, I see news stories, I see the anti-Semitism out there, I see that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's definitely different to live here, to see. In my town here, we have a lot of traffic circles, and in the middle of those circles, there's memorial things set up for the hostages. There's signs that show how many hostages are remaining. The yellow ribbon represents the hostages too, and everybody wants these people back. And this war in Gaza could be over if Hamas would put down their weapons, give our hostages back. It would be done. But they refuse to do it, and then they want to complain that Israel is harming them. Well, you can't have it both ways.
Right. We're up against a break. When we come back, we'll dig deeper into this conflict between Israel and Iran. America Out Loud Talk Radio plays on the iHeartRadio network. You can also listen on our media player from any web browser, anywhere in the world. We have the best in-class apps available on Apple, Android, or Alexa, 24/7, Great Talk Radio. All of our shows go to podcast the following day. You can hear them on apps such as Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeart Podcasts, and many more. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show on Apple Podcasts for me. Don't forget to check out our online store at americaoutloud.shop, where you can find all of the products that we represent on our network at a discounted rate, including an incredible line of products from Chemical Free Body. Unlike the majority of supplements you'll find on the market today, with Chemical Free Body, you won't have to worry about harmful ingredients, binders, fillers, or flow agent. Their ultra-safe breakthrough nanosilver technology destroys pathogens, balances the microbiome, and boosts immunity. All of these products are proudly made in the USA and are backed by an unheard of double your money back guarantee. I've made a twice daily Green 85 drink part of my routine, which has led to a decrease in belly bloat and an increase in my energy throughout the day. Use promo code OUTLOUD to save 20% off the Healthy Gut Bundle. I'll catch you on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
I've got 2 questions for you. Have you been feeling off since COVID? Are you struggling with lingering symptoms? You're not alone. As Dr. Peter McCullough says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Introducing the wellness company Spike Detox Trio. This powerful supplement combines nanokinase, bromelain, and turmeric to support your immune system and fight off harmful spike proteins. Nanokinase improves circulation, while bromelain boosts antiviral defenses, and turmeric reduces inflammation. It's not just another supplement. It's a scientifically backed solution to help you bounce back from COVID. Imagine waking up filled with energy, feeling clear-headed and vibrant again. It's possible with Spike Detox Trio. Reclaim your health now by visiting twc.health/outloud and use promo code OUTLOUD for 20% off your first order right now.
In just 2 minutes per day, you can reclaim your health and vitality and cut your grocery bill in half with one simple, convenient product. Our doctor-formulated Green 85 juice formula's powerful dose of ultra-concentrated essential nutrients stops hunger in its tracks and supplies your cells with what's missing in the grocery store food. It's packed with wheatgrass, chlorella, dandelion, moringa, spirulina, broccoli sprouts, acai berry, beetroot, probiotics, enzymes, vitamins A, D, K, B12, just to name a few. Go to chemicalfreebody.com/outloud today. Get nature's super multivitamin Green 85, empower your immune system, cut down on your grocery bill, and save 20% on your first order.
We wouldn't go a day without washing our hands, brushing our teeth, and washing our nose. Well, wait, we wash our nose? Yes, the number one place where bacteria, viruses, and pollen enter the body is through the nose. So the average person breathes over 23,000 times a day. That's 23,000 opportunities for bacteria, viruses, and irritants to get into your nose and make you sick. For an extra layer of protection, wash your nose with Xlear. That is Xlear, Xlear. Xlear's drug-free nasal spray features xylitol, an ingredient proven to block adhesion of many nasty bacteria and viruses and effectively clean, not just rinse like a saline, but wash your nose. Xlear nasal spray quickly alleviates congestion, opens your airway, and ensures your body's natural defenses are strong. Read the research studies for yourself at Xlear.com. That's Xlear.com. Protect yourself from the pathogens and junk you breathe. Pick up a bottle for you and your family today.
Have you been looking for a healthy snack for on the go, but all the energy and protein bars are just too sweet and full of sugar, preservatives, and mystery ingredients? Well, not all energy bars are soft and sugary. Bear Bars are a crunchy, savory bar made from just 6 simple, natural ingredients. They're plant-based, organic, packed with protein and nutrients, and are low-temp dried for a unique crunch. Most energy bars are based on chocolate or fruit and are held together with syrups and sweeteners, but Bear Bars are a delicious combination of veggies, nuts, and seeds. They're a perfect fast snack for hikes, workouts, and busy moms and dads. To learn more, just visit bearbar.com/outloud and get the exclusive discount just for America Out Loud listeners. That's BEARBAR.com/outloud.
Are you struggling with thinning hair or excessive shedding? I know I am. Discover Roots from the Wellness Company. It's a doctor-formulated hydrogel with 7 powerful peptides that help repair and restore visibly thicker, fuller hair. It also contains methylene blue, which boosts mitochondrial function and nourishes your scalp without any oily residue. Whether it's stress, hormones, or aging, this formula targets the root cause, literally. Visit twc.health/outloud and use code OUTLOUD for 20% off your first order. That is twc.health/outloud. Experience the science of hair regrowth with Roots.
Hi, I'm Dr. James Bragman, board-certified EO in internal and geriatric medicine. Do you or someone you know suffer from airborne allergies due to pollen, pet dander, and other particles, which aggravate and irritate the sensitive nasal passages? Are you tired of the side effects of common allergy products, such as drowsiness, feeling lethargic, and dry nose? Well, now there's Cofix RX. This revolutionary product stops airborne allergy symptoms, all while avoiding the side effects of the usual allergy remedies. Shake, spray, and cleanse away your allergy issues with Cofix RX. Click on the Cofix RX banner ad in the American Out Loud shop for 20% off your next order of Cofix RX.
And I quote, "You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth. Or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness." Well, those are the words of number 40. Ronald Reagan, shine bright as America approaches 250 years. AmericaOutloud.news is that place to awaken your heart, soul, and mind to the Out Loud truth.
Welcome back to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. Wherever you're listening from today and whatever you're doing, I thank you for giving me the gift of your time. Be sure to make AmericaOutloud.news your daily stop for all the latest news and happenings. We all must do our part and share the stories, the articles, the podcasts, and videos so we can help secure America's future. If you're just joining us, I've been talking with the founder and CEO of Spirit PR and my very good friend, Kevin Tuttle. Let's jump right back in. Kevin, thank you again for being here.
My pleasure, Kimberly. Thank you.
You are very welcome. By the way, my listeners absolutely love when you come on. You always share some pretty interesting stories. So,
well, we'll see after this one.
Yeah, I know, right? We haven't had a funny story. I guess there's really not anything funny to talk about, unfortunately. We'll have to work on that maybe when you come back home.
I'm sure I could think of something that's happened here that's pretty humorous, but we'll see how it goes for the rest of this interview.
Yeah, exactly. But, we talked a lot about the media narrative, the global narrative, but what do you wish that Americans understood about what's really happening in Israel and what's at stake?
That what Israel is doing right now in Iran is doing the work that America would have to do if we didn't do it. That Iran promises, they want to destroy the West. And they hate our values of the West. They hate democracy. They hate freedom of religion. They hate freedom of speech. They hate it all. And Israel is basically protecting the rest of the world from the evil of what Iran stands for. And Iran's responsible for Hamas, for Hezbollah, for all of these proxies, for the Houthis down in Yemen, for all of this. They fund it all. And if we could free those people, give them a chance at life and equality and all of those things that we take for granted in our everyday life, then I think that's a good thing. Israel is doing the dirty work that the rest of the world would have to do if we didn't do it.
And, I'm going to ask about, you have your family there. How you have young children? Well, they're teenagers now.
They're teenagers.
Yeah. But how are your children processing all of this?
First of all, they're very calm. It hasn't phased them from a fear standpoint at all. There are sometimes we went a long stretch without having a siren. So, when you're in class or just doing your everyday activities and after months go by without a siren, you get a siren. I mean, obviously that makes your heart skip, and a sense of panic sets in, of course. That's a normal thing. But otherwise, like I was explaining with the construction workers and everything, the same thing goes for the kids. My son was at baseball practice recently and they had a siren go off. So they all ran to the bunker, which is basically these jersey barriers that they put together with a roof on it. And they run in the bunker, they sit there for 10 minutes, and then it's right back to baseball practice. And so there's definitely a mental toughness to all of this. And one of my goals for coming here to Israel in the first place was to show my kids that the rest of the world doesn't necessarily have it as easy as America. America, I mean, if you've never lived in another country, you cannot appreciate what America stands for, what it is, how easy it is to live, the parking lots that we have there, the wide open spaces, just the ease of living. You go to a grocery store and you have many options. I grew up, my teenage years were in Romania after the fall of communism, and I went to the vegetable store where they had green beans in the entire vegetable store. It was just nothing but green beans. So if you didn't like green beans, you didn't need to be at that vegetable store,
Right.
And then you go to the bread store where there was no bread. So no matter what you wanted to order, you had to go to a different store for that. There were no supermarkets that had multiple choices of things. It's unheard of there. And I saw that my kids were really taking things for granted in America, and I wanted them to understand that you have it really, really, really good. You're like the 1%er of the world, and you don't recognize it. So personally, for me, I think it's a great thing, what we've gone through here, living in a war zone, quote unquote, for the last 2 years. And I think, as my kids grow older and they're able to reflect on our time here, that they're really going to appreciate what they went through too. And I really hope that the ingratitude, not that they were so, I guess that's the wrong word. They were
Probably a
not
sense of
that
entitlement, that most
entitlement. Yeah. Keeping up with the Joneses type of thing that occurs in America. It's unnecessary. You can be grateful for what you have. You can be grateful that you live in America and you have access to things where much of the rest of the world doesn't live like that.
I think the fact that your children are so well adjusted to all of this, I mean, it really speaks volumes to how you, as a father, your wife as their mother, have been able to maintain that sense of normalcy, peace, and even joy for them to have this, that they're out there living life, and with the sense of normalcy, as you mentioned, your son's out there playing baseball, and so they are really able to live life in a way that that doesn't make it seem as if they're living in the middle of a war zone. So I think that speaks volumes to just the faith that you bring into the picture, and teaching your children just to be able to discern truth and trust God.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give them credit too. They've battled through a lot of things. It's hard to come to a country that the schools here are in Hebrew. And when you don't speak Hebrew, it's a difficult thing to go to school all day and try to learn Hebrew on the fly. And, both my kids battled through a lot in that sense. And my daughter, we actually sent her to a different school this last, the school year that just ended. She went to a boarding school. Actually, it was an English-speaking boarding school. And her whole mindset about Israel completely changed over this last year, where the first year here, it was much harder for her. And she just kept saying how bad she wanted to go back to America. And then switching to this school where they have kids from 21 countries, from Africa, from Asia, from the US, from Sweden, from a bunch of different countries at this school, has given her such an amazing worldview. And I asked her, before I knew we were moving back to the US, I asked her, so, if we have to move, are you planning to stay here for your senior year next year? Or she's like, I'm not leaving this school. I love this school. So I'm staying. I'm finishing school here. And, so that's the plan. It's a complete 180 from where she was when we first got here. Like, she loves it here. The school has been phenomenal. I do want to give a shout out to that school. It's called United, Younited. It's an international baccalaureate school with fantastic staff. And, they have Palestinian kids there. They have Jewish kids. They have agnostic. It doesn't matter, Christian. It doesn't matter what religion you are. You go to the school and you learn how to get along with each other. And it's an amazing thing to see how well these kids get along and how they overcome obstacles, and that they're able to study together, just really excel. So I'm incredibly proud of my daughter for how she's overcome a lot. I'm proud of my son for learning a ton of Hebrew, and he's still in a Hebrew speaking school. But it was a chaotic time for him the first year, because he had he joined. He was in 8th grade at the time, and it was a much different environment in schools here than in the U.S., where the teacher kind of, he's the authority figure, and it seemed to be that wasn't the case at this school, where kids would just shout and stand on desks. And my son is like, Dad, you have no idea what school is like here. Like a teacher came in and yelled for 45 minutes with another student, and then he left, and I don't know what was going on. So the culture is much different than it is in the US. And so he's battled through a lot too. And yeah, I'm just really proud of my kids. They've endured, they're tough, they're loving. And yeah, I think, their mother is the catalyst behind all of their success too. She's an amazing woman.
I don't doubt that. I think it takes incredible courage to raise a family in a place like this, where the world sees as and perceives as dangerous, but there's a profound purpose in that as well. And I'm thrilled to hear that the children are thriving, and you all are.
Yeah. There's, like I said, with obstacles, having to overcome them, it's been difficult, and I think last year I mentioned to you that my mother passed away.
Yeah.
Just 2 months after I got here, and we had to take in my dad to live with us. And he'd never been alone basically in 50 years, that he was with my mom, and he couldn't even go to a restaurant by himself. Like it didn't occur to him to do that, because he was always with my mom. It's like he was missing his partner, and it's not like he was missing. He actually was missing her, and she directed him in so many ways in life. And so it was very difficult for him to gain that independence, and for him to think about where his next meal is coming from and all of these things. And I'm proud to say he just moved into his own apartment a couple months ago, and he's cooking his own meals. He's completely independent. And, 2 years ago, no way could he have been doing what he's doing today. So
yeah, grief is such a process, and I'm glad to hear that he's doing well. I lost my father a month ago, and so I watched my mother struggling.
Yeah.
Thank you. I watched my mother struggling with the same thing, because she doesn't know how to, be without him, because they were together for like 50 years.
Yeah.
So.
It's devastating to see your parent in that realm. And yeah, learning that independence it takes time. But you know what, I know my dad has a loving son in me, and your mom has a loving daughter in you. So they'll overcome. Yeah.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, I really just want to get your perspective on this. We see the United States stepping in militarily and diplomatically. Do you believe where we are? Do you believe that we're heading toward a larger war?
If I'm reading Ezekiel, then yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think eventually it'll happen. I don't know if this is going to continue from this point and just continue to escalate and get uglier, or if there's going to be a lull for a while, some calm. I could see that happening. But yeah, eventually it's all going to head down to a showdown. So
yeah, the big showdown. Exactly.
Right.
The good versus evil that we've all been waiting for.
But I don't believe that.
I don't know.
Right. I don't believe that there's going to be American boots on the ground. I don't think it's going that route. Um, but I'm not a prophet. I don't know.
You sure?
I just think that what America's doing is the right thing. I think Trump pulled
Yeah.
the trigger at just the right time. Our boys, our troops were not hurt. They got in and out. I mean, how cool is that? You got to see B-2s land
Yeah.
in Missouri, after such an mission of 36 hours, and like the whole thing was just flawless. And Israel paved the way for that to happen too. They basically shot down all the surface to air missiles, all of those types of things that Iran had. So they made a pathway, a safe passageway, so the B-2s could come in, bomb the area, and leave. And now Israel, their Air Force it's kicking ass, is what it's doing. It's destroying government facilities, just doing amazing things in Iran that it needs to do. And the Jewish people don't go around trying to tell people to convert to Judaism or else. They don't behead anybody. They don't do all these things that Islamic regimes tend to do. And so it's not a holy war from Israel's perspective. It's just protecting ourselves. And when you know that somebody has a bomb that they want to use against you, or is close to getting that bomb that they want to use against you, what would you do? Would you just allow it to happen?
Exactly.
So,
And that's why I'm actually in favor. I think that Trump has handled this incredibly well. I mean, there's really no sense in walking softly with a big stick if you're not going to use that big stick every now and then. So,
well, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's
we have
peace
to.
through strength. Peace through strength. That's the other thing that you learn here in the Mideast. You cannot have your Western ideologies, your Western mindset of everybody wants this type of life. Everybody wants this freedom that we have, this democracy. They don't. It isn't like that in the rest of the world. And things aren't quite as nice in the rest of the world as it is in the Mideast or in the US. Here, when you're nice, it gives people the perspective that you're weak. So if you're just constantly nice to people, they're going to take advantage of you because they think this guy is a fool. Why is he being so nice? It's just a completely different mindset.
Well, Trump
Yeah,
is,
here
damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, I mean, they're just
yes,
coming after him no matter what he does. It can never
right,
be right. So,
right. There's always a reason to impeach Donald Trump. So
exactly.
every few days they come up with something else. Yeah.
What did you think? Were you paying attention to this No Kings protest that they've got going on here in the US?
I heard about it. I didn't really see anything other than the headline that this was happening, but no, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm
I
like, there's
didn't
not been
follow
a
it
king here
closely.
since 1776, but okay. Like nobody
Oh, but
did, when they were trying to mandate vaccines and when they were trying, nobody minded having kings at that point in time, right?
right. Well, you can have kings of science. That's fine.
Yeah.
Anthony Fauci can rule over your world, and you have to bow down to him. Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy never stops.
Exactly. And if there weren't double standards, I swear the left would have none at all. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it's going to get us into a forever war. I think that his move was strategic and was the absolute right move to make. That's my opinion. But I mean, we couldn't sit down
I concur.
and do nothing.
Yeah, and just because, I agree that the Iraq War probably shouldn't have happened, but just because it happened there, that doesn't mean that this one is the same thing. These are completely different scenarios. And, you got to take things one at a time. Don't clump everything together in the same viewpoint that, oh, anytime we go to the Mideast, it's a forever war type of thing. This is different.
It is, and I think this could really drastically change the trajectory of what is coming. I just feel like it was a great strategic move, and I mean, we'll see how it all plays out, but I have good feelings. Say that.
Yeah, I do worry about America quite honestly, quite frequently, because we don't know. Thanks to Joe Biden's policies of opening the border, 20 million people infiltrated, many from the Mideast. We don't know who's there. We don't know where they are. We
Oh,
don't
there are
know if
sleeper
there's
cells
cells.
everywhere. There are
Right.
sleeper
We
cells
don't know.
everywhere. And
So be vigilant is all I can say. Be
exactly,
vigilant.
head on a swivel at all times. But I think, America will destroy itself long before any other nation will. As we can see, the division that comes
Yes.
from our own people that has nothing to do with the terrorist sleeper cells that are all over our country, and they are there. But we do all the work for them.
How do you mean?
We do all the work for them as far as destroying ourselves and just
Oh, yeah.
itself. We implode, but they don't need to do a single thing because we're just fighting each other.
Well, it's divide and conquer.
Exactly.
That's the art of war.
Exactly. Well, I can't believe it, coming up on the end of this interview, which is another amazing interview with my good friend, Public Relations Kevin. It is always such a pleasure to have you here with me. And I'm sure that we will have you back again. Hopefully, when you're back here in the US, maybe we can do an in-person interview. What do you think?
I think it sounds amazing. Thank you again for inviting me on. I always love talking to you, Kimberly. You've been a dear friend for a long time now.
Same, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That is all the time that we have for today, friends. But remember, we are here on the air 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, with a different nurse host daily. You can also catch the encore at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please be sure to tune in and listen to myself and these courageous nurses. As we walk you through all of these hot topics, we will empower you with information and education. We will advocate and we will stand in the gap for you, because we are nurses and this is what we do. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. You can find me here every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until next time, be safe, be well, and God bless. Remember, we are in a war for truth. We're putting out a bounty on the real misinformation and exposing the purveyors of propaganda. No topic is off limits as we shine our lights and expose the darkness.
It's time